You're watching the Tesla Life with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 290, the 18th of January, 2023. Welcome, everybody. And I just noticed Casey's had a major problem with his dresser. Something has happened dramatically. I didn't even notice that till now, but
It looks like art.
yeah,
Well,
art.
awesome.
Yes. It looks like art gone a little bit wild, is what it looks like.
Was it Jackson Pollock?
Jackson Pollock explosion.
We welcome
Nice.
everyone to the show, and with us, as always, we have Mr. Casey Green and his co-host Moto joining us from an undisclosed location. How are you today, sir?
We're doing pretty well. It's a little warm here today, but I guess that's better than it being a little cold. And you and I shared a little brainwave this week. My show thumbnail for this week is also Franz. Back when I met him in 2013. So.
Oh, awesome.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Also joining us, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, Tesla Nation. So if this is your first show, you should know a little about who each of us are. So Mark is our host. Oh, I got to point the other way because on camera there. Yeah. Longtime Tesla advocate owner, used to have a Volt before that. Casey, you also had a Volt, a Prius before that, now driving an X. Yes. I blog over here about EVs and energy. It's so we're all big EV enthusiasts, and this show's a lot of fun. So welcome.
Yeah, we've got what 20 years of Tesla ownership combined.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. I haven't even thought about that. Yeah. Do you count double if you own two? Does that? How's your math work? Yeah. I started in 2016, so with my ownership.
I started in 2017.
Okay, yeah, and I Tesla stock before that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Elon's like, we've canceled the Model S40. Nobody wants it. I was like, what about me? And so the money I was saving for the order fee, I just dumped it into the stock. It was a good move.
Yeah, that worked out. Yeah,
definitely. That wouldn't hurt at all.
And then even more years of EV ownership, because Teslas were not any of our first plug-in cars.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Fun.
Well, let's get rolling with the stories this week. First one is kind of a good news for EVs in general, not just Teslas.
Where's the chat at? I'm sorry to interrupt. I see all these people in the room, and nobody said hello.
Not even one. Not
even one. Okay, there we go. We got Kenny and Breakneck Trent.
Okay, all right.
There we go. I was like, is this thing on?
Hello, Bueller.
Right. Thank you. Oh, and Rick and Mike. Good to see y'all. Oh, anybody who missed last week, we need your guesses for how many model Teslas will be produced as far as automobiles for next
total
year,
worldwide.
for this coming year. Yeah.
Right. And we did decide semis count in this?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. If it's got wheels. So megapacks, no. Cars, trucks, semis, yes.
Yes. No robots.
Yes, right.
Well, legged robots, I should say.
Right, because you arguably could say their vehicles today are robots by some definition.
Elon said so.
Yeah, so today's first story was about the country of Sweden. And
where's Anders at?
Interesting, I guess, find by one of the largest mining companies in northern Sweden. They unveiled a new find of what they call rare earth minerals. So those are typically used in EV packs, not just, for any EV actually. Different amounts based on the different chemistries and formulas that different automakers have. But typically, a lot of these rare earth metals are found in China, South Africa area, South America. So some conflict areas sometimes these are found in. And of course, it's better to find them in democratic countries that have certain standards for labor and their labor forces. And Sweden, of course, part of the EU, is one of those countries that would be able to steer clear of labor issues, let's say. So Sweden joins the list. Canada is another group that has quite a bit. But this new find in Sweden apparently is estimated that it's close to 1 million tons of found reserves. So that's kind of interesting that they announced it just this week. And I don't think they're mined. It's just it's a find at this point, and they'll be probably doing some exploratory drilling into it to see if the potency amount is what they expect it to be. So, but that's good for all the EVs because of course we see the ever increasing amount of minerals that are required for EV production for those battery packs. And any new source found for rare earth metals is certainly going to be welcomed by any EV manufacturer. So that is good to hear.
I only saw one reference to what metals they were, and I lost it. And every other article just says rare earth metals.
That's right.
And I was like, yeah, great.
Yeah,
So,
I was trying to find that too, and you found more than I did because I couldn't find it. So I like the way Casey did air quotes when you said rare earth, because the rare earth metals are often lumped in with other things that are not rare earth. And even in this article, that's what is this one from Teslarati, they immediately jump into lithium and cobalt, which neither of are rare earth. So
it's not even rare. It's the third most common element in the universe.
Right. So it's great that they found this. I wish there was more details about exactly what it is. But yeah, especially it's nice to see this in non-conflict areas. You're not going to have people there who are putting their lives at risk to mine it, most likely. I mean, they're going to have humane treatment. Workers are going to have rights. And that's all good things.
Yeah.
Hey, we got 2.67 million.
Oh, we got Rick. More guesses added to the list.
Breakneck Trent, you can't say 2 million plus. It has to be down to a little more specific.
Guess.
Yeah,
actual guess. Yes,
more than 5. I win. You can't say I was wrong.
McKinney got 1.47.
Yeah.
Next story, we've got this study, a new study that indicated that Tesla vehicles are the cheapest luxury brand of type of vehicle to be owned. So when you look at the luxury vehicles, such as, say, Mercedes, such as, say, BMW, Tesla lumped in as a luxury vehicle into that crowd. For maintenance, they are the cheapest to maintain. Now, what I wanted to bring this article up to the group was, is Tesla actually a luxury vehicle if you're looking at the 3 and the why?
This is why we get along so well. That was the very question I had on Sunday. I'm like, does Tesla even count as a luxury car? So I looked up the definition, and they picked a specific study like motorcars.com or something, and apparently Tesla, Lexus, Acura, and Genesis are all luxury cars, even though no normal person would consider any of them to be luxury cars.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Genesis besides I think I've sat in one previously.
It's a plus-up Hyundai.
I don't remember it, to be honest. But yeah, I wouldn't consider the Model 3 to be luxury. Just
premium.
For the fact
it's definitely premium.
It's premium. Okay, I give it that. But is it an actual luxury car? Patrick,
right. I mean, like a Model 3 and a Bentley. I mean, I know which one I would pick, but I don't think I'd consider the Model 3 to be in the same league.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to define it, and I think the answer is it more than 40,000? And so, yes, we'll put it in that category. So, yeah,
does it have some leather-like material in the seats?
Right. Yeah. The cutoffs are arbitrary, and the cool thing about this, from my perspective, wasn't what category you put it into. It's just that EVs are cheaper to maintain. They have a lot fewer moving parts. You don't have to go get all those oil changes. You've got regenerative braking, so your brake pads wear out less often. You don't have fuel filters, oil filters, intake air filters. Although you have some air filters, but those are cabin air filters and stuff. So, when you really look at vehicle ownership, you spend a lot of money maintaining it, and so often it's all just about the upfront cost. Well, you really need to look at the whole life cycle cost, and EVs have a huge advantage there. There you go. Breakneck
Nice.
Trent has a good guess now. Very specific. Ish. I like the ish.
Hello, JT.
Yeah, so it's something that this group looked at those figures, and I've heard from others. For example, I know of someone that owns a BMW, and they talk about the classic amounts of service that they have to perform on that vehicle and the costs that are involved with it.
Yes.
And it's there's that old adage of what does BMW stand for? Bring my wallet. So there's certainly maintenance that has to be performed in those vehicles, and the maintenance is not cheap. You take a BMW in for an oil change at a dealer, and the price is quite dramatic compared to what you would normally expect a regular oil change to cost. So that's part of the luxury mystique, is that you get luxury pricing when it comes to repair and maintenance.
Yeah, that's one of the things Jags.
When I took my Model S in for its first annual service, and it's like, you want how much now? You're not even changing the oil.
Yeah, so you've got to be, and that's something that if someone is doing the Tesla stretch, where they're spending a little bit more money than they expect to spend on a vehicle up front, it's nice to know that the overall service experience is cheaper than any other luxury vehicle. So keep that in mind for people that are now getting involved with the cars. As Patrick mentioned, there's certainly less of a parts price shock when it comes to Teslas, because you're not replacing those brake pads that often. You may be doing maintenance on the brakes, cleaning and such, but there's a good chance that you may never replace the pads for a decade,
unless you're going hard at the track.
Yeah,
and then that's on you.
That's on you. Exactly.
And especially now that Tesla doesn't have an annual service schedule anymore, makes it even cheaper. You're only just doing what needs doing.
Yeah. Next, Patrick's going to take us off to Houston. What's happening there?
Houston, we have a problem. So Tesla has leased some space here, and where did that story go? Here it is. Okay, so this is from Drive Tesla Canada. Tesla leases 1 million square foot building outside of Houston, and the fun thing about this article is that we have no idea what they have planned there. And does the article tell us? No, it just says that this has been leased, and this is coming from the Houston Chronicle as their source of the information here. And so I thought it would just be fun to speculate. What could they be doing with this space?
This is
another be where the cars come back after they leave Texas to come back.
Yeah, it's a stop off on their way to Mexico to come back. Yeah, no, I know that recently there was another almost million square feet that was leased, I believe 750,000 square feet in the St. Louis area. So this is a second one in the midsection of the country. So are these distribution centers? Are these parts centers?
Right. They're not going to be factories, because they're not going to put all that infrastructure into some place that they've leased. They would buy it if that was the plan.
Yeah,
but it is a lot closer to the coast than Austin, so maybe it would be for them to ship stuff out from there if they're exporting from Austin.
Especially when you look at what they did with Shanghai, that's an export facility. Why would their biggest one not be?
Right. So they could be getting that together. It could be a combination of that and then a delivery center for people in the Houston area, or I don't know. Yeah, it was just fun to start wondering. Let your mind go.
It could be the storage of Tesla parts that are coming from Giga Texas. You know how every automaker has to keep so many parts in stock for a number of years. It could be that this is going to be their actual parts depot where parts are sent. The different parts are labeled and sent and kept in bins for all the different types of vehicles and all the different years. Just a common place to keep them, where body shops order from, where the public orders from, where the online system pulls them from. Maybe they don't want that mixed into the actual factory because they'd rather have the space for manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right. That would make sense. Have a parts distribution going to all the service centers around the world, or at least this continent from here.
And then you don't feel some kind of way about losing a good building when your lease runs out.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a warehouse.
Right. It's just a warehouse. And yeah, it's easier to relocate that because it's just moving some parts around. Versus
Elon just put a bunch of sprung structures there and then take them with them when they leave.
Right. It's not the same as like disassembling an IDRA press or something.
Exactly.
That'd be a lot more work.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll have to see. Obviously, the company that leased the space, they're not telling us what it is, and Tesla hasn't even announced they've picked it up. So I would think that over some time. In fact, I haven't heard anything since on the St. Louis area one. There's been no mention of it since the part that it was found that Tesla leased it. So we'll have to see if some information comes down the line about what these two places are for, actually.
You know, it'd be super weird as if this one was another fan purchase.
You mean like a fake reporting?
Oh,
not fake reporting, but last week it was let known that there were a bunch of new Tesla trademarks filed for and approved. But
yes.
Tesla didn't actually ask for them. So I'm wondering who paid the fees.
Some guy named Joe Tesla just leased a building and then the
Yeah,
news got it wrong. And he's like, what is...
Yeah, his first name was Elon. His last name was Tesla. The media just put it together wrong.
I like it.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Next story is about Giga Texas.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise. Where
Surprise!
we've got Casey with a photo.
Yeah, so we showed you the drone army had captured the Giga Press outside the building in crates. Now the drone army captures the Giga Press inside the building being assembled. So
Nice.
I saw all these reflections and thought I'd run it through Photoshop and such, but I didn't have time while we were talking about the last
there's
story.
a better picture.
Yeah, there's a couple better pictures. And so this looks very familiar, doesn't it? Very much like what we saw in Italy.
Yeah. Yep.
Not quite there, but it's getting there.
red
Shaped up.
paint job.
Exactly. Just like we saw from the other one in Italy last week, that's headed to Asia, somewhere in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Same
Which
paint job.
makes me wonder, are those colors like Tesla picked those out or is that IDRA is just like, to make this device, we need them, they have to be colored this way to indicate. I wonder if it's branding or functional.
I believe it's branding, because when I saw Sandy's view of the factory and some other special that went through and looked at the IDRA manufacturing facilities, they weren't these colors. They were different colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that
doesn't mean that this line,
cements...
like the Mega Press, the Giga Press, maybe that one is, but I doubt it.
Right, because we were wondering last week whether the one that was going to Asia was for Tesla or not. And if it's Tesla's colors, that makes it far more likely that it's for Tesla.
Still be Toyota.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Toyota
I said likely. I didn't say for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I'd be willing to take that bet. It is not Toyota, but
Right. Yes. Yeah. Them do something forward and progressive, and no way.
Not in the last 20 years.
Right. Yes. Yeah, they got it right.
Eventually, their
Prius,
solid-state
and then
batteries will come out.
So that's
Yeah.
imagine being one of those people that are putting the IDRA together, sitting there in Giga Texas and going, what's that buzzing noise in my ear all the time?
Right.
And looking around, oh geez, another 3 drones got in through the window again, damn it.
Who left the window open? The
Who
drones
left
are
the
getting
window
in.
open last night.
These things are worse than flies.
They're running around with huge fly swatters, swapping the drones around. It's a
They've got
mess.
butterfly nets.
one of those sticky fly
butterfly
tapes.
nets. That would be good. Yeah.
a giant one for drones.
Then they'll switch to the FPV drones and they'll start doing acrobatics through
There's
the
at
factory.
least 4 separate groups that are videoing with drones around Giga Texas on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So
just 4 in Texas alone, but around the world, every Tesla facility has got something going on with the drones.
How many other companies would allow that? And I mean, almost nobody.
Can't imagine any.
Two components to that. How many would be interesting enough to have that be something that's wanted, and then how many would allow it?
You're right. The first one, okay, yeah. Some boring company doesn't. Nobody wants to go there. Oh wait, I can't even use that.
Can't use that.
Some uninteresting company.
Some uninteresting company. Yes.
We do have a city here in Oregon called Boring, Oregon, which I think should be where the headquarters for the Boring Company is.
There you go.
At least like the ultimate headquarters or something.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, Casey's got another story.
Yeah.
And this one is about Toyota somehow.
So you all know that I like to call the Model 3 and Y the California Camry, right? Well,
yep.
Over in Australia, the Camry has been the best-selling car for 28 years in a row. So much to the point that Toyota had already bought their advertisements, and they had said, let's see, where did it go? There was a quote on the one I was reading last week. Well, basically, they were caught by surprise, and since the Model 3 sold 10,877 units in Australia to the Camry's 9,538, they lost the crown. And so Toyota basically kept their ad, basically saying the best-selling car in Australia, blah, blah, blah. And at the very end of that sentence, they just tacked on under 60,000 Aus dollars because they were not expecting to lose their crown.
I thought they were going to put a little asterisk and it said in brackets, used to.
No, they continued to pretend that it didn't happen, but they just put a disclaimer at the end of their statement saying under 60,000.
Well, that actually makes it worse. Oh, we're cheaper, but we still can't outsell them.
Yeah.
Oh, they were not happy about that.
There's a pent up demand
for
Teslas in Australia, and Giga Shanghai is filling those orders. So
absolutely,
and being a lot closer. I've got to believe that those wait times have dropped dramatically now that they just have to ship them a much shorter distance compared to coming from Fremont. So Australians are loving their Model 3s and Ys, and it'll be interesting to see how the numbers progress from here. And with that, on to our next story. This is kind of interesting. We've talked many times about the Hertz connection with Tesla. Hertz actually purchasing 100,000 Model 3s to kick off their new and improved business, which was going to focus on EVs. And since that point, of course, they've also gotten other EVs, Polestars, Chevy products. They've done a few different purchases. Nothing as big as the Model 3, but we've seen commercials on the Super Bowl, and we've seen that they've been successful. We've seen that Hertz has talked about how this rebranding, becoming an EV renter, has been profitable for them. So it's great to see. Now, I saw some photos just recently on the internet, and I'm going to share them with everybody here. So
we're not that kind of show, Mark.
so we can all look at this at the same time. And this is a little bit painful. So what you can see here is a Model Y with a 20-inch rim and tire. And
is that tire grease or wheel scrapings?
That's a little bit of road rash, curb rash.
That's a lot of road rash, curb rash. There's a lot of it going on this tire. This is someone that just picked up a Hertz rental and was just walked around the vehicle and looked at all the tires. And man, this vehicle has seen some curbs in its short existence.
So I see all the new owners at the Supercharger with this situation going on. Perhaps Hertz could have gone with the cheaper wheels that are a little harder to scrape.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention maybe
alloy gators.
Yeah, curb rash fighters, and I guess my response to that is there's no help in these rims. It doesn't matter what you put on these rims. There is, drive it like a rental comes to mind. Is what's happening here.
Right. There's drive it like you stole it and drive it like you rented it, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got all the people who like park over the curb stops or over the actual curb, and just think about that, but for the sides of the car. Plus, it looks like a mid-sized car. It's not. It's a full-size car, and that means you have to give it more room than
all the places that a mid-sized car would fit.
Exactly. Oh, I got room before the curb.
No, this is Hertz's property. This is something that they've looked at, and maybe going forward they'll only purchase Model Ys with 19-inch rims based on what they find with this. But I gotta believe that those 19-inch are going to be scraped up just as badly.
Yeah, but at least it'll be a little harder to do. But you make it idiot proof, they'll build a better idiot. But I'm wondering if they were just taking what was available, or if they thought somehow this would help with their resale. Because rental cars, they don't keep cars forever. But
they were trying to get 100,000
resale if it's scraped up to hell.
Yeah,
right. 100,000 as fast as they can, and so I think they took whatever was available, and that included these larger wheels, tires.
And I have a feeling that Hertz doesn't do any. They're not looking for the best price for a premium car when they're selling it a year and a half or whatever the time period is later. They probably have a deal where it's like mass adoption, where they just, okay, we've got 800 cars we're getting rid of this quarter. Here they are, and whoever buys them is at a set price, and they probably don't even look at them.
Right. But, in this lot, we've got 20 Teslas. All right, next.
Right. As long as it's not major drivetrain damage or body damage, that you expect that on a used car.
All right, we've got our scratch and dent sale. Here's 100 cars. Who wants them?
Exactly. Yes. But the cool thing for Hertz is they were struggling with profitability before they switched over to EVs. And like the story we just talked about earlier, maintenance costs are severely cheaper. And when you have a massive fleet like Hertz does, that saves them money every month.
Yeah, because they're not changing the oil every week on every car.
Right.
They stay on the road. The other thing is
they're in a much more profitable position now.
Yeah, and the other thing is not only was it so good for them here in the States, they mentioned they were thinking about it, but now they've actually gone ahead and cemented it. They are going to do an equal size program in Europe consisting of Teslas and Polestars. Whereas Polestar was the token car here just to make sure they weren't putting all their eggs in one basket. They were almost all Teslas. But over in Europe, it seems like they're going to try and balance it a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to have more Polestars than Teslas in Europe.
That's the local car.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not local anymore because Giga Texas is local. It's the EU. They're union made.
Yeah.
Wait, so Polestar is owned by Geely, which is Chinese.
But everybody still thinks of Polestar and Volvo as the Swedish cars, even though they are Chinese.
Okay. Even though they're Chinese Swedish now.
Yeah.
So that's that's kind of interesting. I haven't seen a Tesla yet at a local Hertz. I understand that a lot of them are placed at airports, but I haven't seen one myself to see what the car looks like at a Hertz dealer or a Hertz lot that's local to me. But next time I'm in or around Toronto, I'm going to check it out and see what the lot looks like with the Model 3s on it, and see what they look like.
Yeah, I was on Reddit
because
before.
that's one thing with Hertz, right? Is that when you're renting a car from them, typically it's clean. Like when you're picking it up, they wash them and they look very presentable. So
better than anything I picked up from the service center that wasn't brand new. I'm not complaining because I'd much rather have a car than a good walk, but it is the contrast there.
When you walk out and you see that curb rash, you can go, "Oh, that hurts."
that hurts.
Yeah, but you see that on the service center cars too. I was on Reddit before the show, and there was a guy who was expecting some Cadillac premium sporty car, and he was a little disappointed he didn't get that. And then they flipped him a key card. He's like, "Oh, all right, I'll try this stuff out." And he had previously been thinking that EVs didn't work for him. He didn't like Tesla because people told him not to. And then he drove it around for a week and a half, and he's like, "Hey, I'm waiting for mine to show up now." He went and bought it.
Awesome. Yeah.
After hearing all the people just like,
right.
That's the prime thing, is getting people in seats to try these things, because if they don't have exposure to it and all they hear are things based on the main media, you would think that they're the worst cars in the world, and EV don't. But after driving it, a lot of people convert. Because it's
he was hearing all the anti-Elon, anti-Tesla, and then all the usual anti-EV stuff, like, "Oh, where are you going to drive? You can't go a long trip. What if it's cold? Blah blah blah."
They all just burst into flames every other day.
Yeah, that part. He didn't burn up. He didn't run out of charge. It was the
battery needs to be replaced every 2.5 years.
Right. He didn't care about 2.5 years, but well, not on the rental, but now he does. But all the stuff, like every time he turned around, it was being exposed as a lie, or just like FUD, or just like boogie, and so
and once you realize one of those things is a lie, you're like, well, why was I believing all the others? Let me look for myself, and instead of just believing what I hear from local media,
Exactly. That's the thing. When putting together the show, we pull from a number of non-traditional sites, non-mainstream sites, I would say, where we're getting stories about Tesla that we post on our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life, if you're not connected there already, in our Facebook page, The Tesla Life #1, where we post these stories. But if you go search mainstream media, there is a dramatic difference when you search on Tesla news for the week compared to what we find in post. There's such a dramatic difference, and the slant is negative, especially lately. It's been very negative lately. So it's something where it looks like any news group can skew what they want to post based on the stories that they pick from, and the one side of the media, it's not the whole story. There's a lot of success stories out there with people that love these cars compared to people that are complaining about these cars. So depending on where you get your media from, you may get negative Tesla news all the time.
Yeah, so I don't often feature mainstream sources on my show. But in over 208 hours, well over 208 hours last year, I might have used maybe 25 articles that were mainstream, and that might have only been because they were the easiest ones to grab, or because I vetted them and they were actually accurate. But that tells you a thing or two. And I think on this show, I've done one.
So for me, I started noticing this even before, just about EVs in general, in like 2010, 11. When the Leaf and the Volt were coming out. And so this was something I had researched a lot, and I have a degree in electrical engineering, and I knew what I was talking about, and then was just enthusiastic about it. And then I start seeing all these news stories, and I'm like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. This is completely wrong. That's FUD. And that started making me question, like, well, okay, now when I'm reading something I really know about and they're wrong, why would I assume when I'm reading something I don't know about that they were right? And so then what I started doing, instead of just reading whatever, I would find authors who I had credibility with me based on and then I would follow them on Twitter instead of following whatever news site. And so it totally changed the way I consumed media after that.
Yeah, I like being able to just follow the exact authors that I have come to respect. I mean, I still check them, but I don't have to check them as hard as I do like somebody like I don't know them from Adam. Like I'll often feature Tina Casey's articles because I may not always agree with her conclusions, but I know that they're very well researched and that there is content there. Like she writes.
Exactly. Right. And if this is an author you trust and they jump from whatever media site, you can still follow them. And it doesn't matter if they're writing for Giga or Wired or CNN or whoever. Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Kenny just said he completed a 13-hour trip earlier today. I'm assuming that's in a Tesla, and if so, Kenny, please write up a short little note as to how it went. Be interested to hear, and if you've done this before, or if this was your first trip.
And my favorite is they tell you, "Oh, EVs can't travel," and you're like, "I just told you I'm from wherever. Do I snap my fingers and show up here? That's my car. It's not a rental."
I teleported.
Yeah. There are some that are better for it than others, and that was one thing back in 2011 and 12 when people were doing these treks and these short range EVs. And yeah, you can do it, but you have to be dedicated to it. And I actually was not sure that these articles, as much media attention as they were sometimes getting, were actually helpful to the cause. Yeah, you made it, but you took twice as long. And you did you really? Is that what the image you want to give? Because if you buy the right car for the right purpose, they work great. You can have an Aaron short range EV. We have a short range EV. I've talked about how great they are, but driving cross country in that would be a horrible idea. Could you do it if you really, really wanted to? Yes.
But anything can be done given time and money.
Yes. Yeah. Persistence will get you a long ways.
Exactly. Next, Casey's got a story for us about the state of Wyoming. And why is Wyoming in the news, Casey?
Because these fine folks, these gentlemen, I've researched them all, found out they all lean one way politically, and that all but two of them were paid by the local utilities, the petroleum industry, both, or real estate. And they all put together this law that's only a page long, and I'll go over that in an hour. Not an hour now, but like in an hour.
Oh, please. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just going to give the short strokes.
We've only got 20 minutes left, Casey.
Right. So what they want to do is they want to ban all EVs from sale in their fair state by 2035, claiming that batteries are bad for the environment, claiming that it's too hard to get infrastructure, despite the fact that they just got billions of dollars of infrastructure from the infrastructure, the IRA plan. And they also want to make sure that they send a notice that they've passed this bill to the president, the vice president, Congress, both houses, and for some reason the governor of California, as if he cares what goes on in Wyoming.
Right.
And so
very few people actually care what goes on in Wyoming, just to be clear.
Wyoming is smaller than most cities in this country, and like population-wise. And what's funny to me, I think this will be humorous if this thing actually passes, because then they'll have to undo it, or even better, by 2035, there won't be any cars for sale in Wyoming because they'll have to go outside the states to buy it. Because now, if California pulled this stick, then it would actually mean something, because they're the largest auto market in the country. But Wyoming is one of the smallest, if not the smallest. So if they do this and automakers have to comply, rather than making a Wyoming car, they'll just not sell cars in Wyoming. It's cheaper.
Correct. Yes. See, this is political theater. This is them just trying to make a statement.
The reason I thought it might not be theater is because they're so small and so towards that team. So it could work, but I'm hoping it's theater. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like you said, they're not a large enough market to demand anything. So it's not going to change what the automakers do. And it's a 2035 resolution.
All these people are out of office by 2025.
Right, exactly. So it's political theater, and in fact, I would argue that if you live in Wyoming, you should sue them for not representing their constituents and for actually proposing legislation that is never going to, that is political theater and not for your benefit as a constituent.
And yeah, a waste of time and money for
Exactly.
anyone
Taxpayer
involved.
dollars are paying them, and this is the
Yeah.
crap they're doing.
Right.
And
Like,
if you look
the-
into the details of it, there's two separate sections, and really, it's not a mandate. It's more of a suggestion, is how it's worded. So
Hmm.
there's no teeth behind it on top of it. So it's definitely political theater.
Yeah.
So
That'd be funny. It's illegal, and then Tesla and GM and everybody still just selling them anyway. Like, what are we gonna do? We have no way to punish you.
find a way to sue them.
Yeah.
So
Oh, they will. We're suing you under the No Electric Cars Act.
yeah. Well, here's an interesting story that happened this week. Popular podcast Ride the Lightning, run by Ryan, had a special guest on this week. Had Franz, chief designer of Tesla, on for the second time on the show. And Ryan peppered Franz with many questions that Franz would not or could not answer because, of course, Tesla is still a secretive company in some ways. And when it comes to future designs and future plans, they are extremely tight-lipped when it comes to executives at the top. And Franz definitely proved that in this interview. But I would say also that a few nuggets of information did escape during the conversation. They talked a lot about the Cybertruck. They talked about colors of vehicles. They talked about yokes. They talked about doors and how they would open. They talked about a few other subjects. Now, Franz definitely was tight-lipped on some things. When it came to talking about, say, the release of the Roadster, Franz was like, "Listen, I can't say anything." He said, "You realize that our mission is to roll out electrification amongst all we can in the mass market, and the Roadster's not a mass market car, so it's going to have to take a back seat at this point, and that's all there is to it."
And especially because the Plaid Non-Plus does everything that the Roadster was initially advertised to do, except for the SpaceX edition.
But what he did is he would add to these answers, even though it was really not an answer. He would add to the not answer and say, when it comes to the Roadster, you saw that the Model S Plaid does all these things, as Casey has said. You can let your imagination take you where you think we're going to take the Roadster. So he was building on top of the Roadster lore by really not saying anything, just saying, "Hey, you seen what we've done already? Do you think we're going to release the Roadster the way it sat 3 years ago? No,
Right.
No, we're going to improve it in every way." And that's the other thing that was kind of interesting during the interview is that Franz had said that his day is filled with improvements every day for every car. It may not be every car every day, but he says that he touches upon each of the platforms at least once a week. And in some cases, of course, multiple times a week, depending on what is priority for the company at that time.
Yeah,
so
he had just come from working on Model S the day before the interview.
That's right. So as Ryan tried to say, well, what were you doing before the interview, before you got here? Like, he wouldn't give specifics.
No, he
would
wouldn't.
stay away from specifics. But he did say that this is something that Tesla does. And we've seen the evidence of that when it comes to new parts and new rollouts.
Every week.
They don't wait for these things to happen for an end of the year.
Yeah.
These things are happening all throughout the year, and they're rolling them out when it best suits them. So that was good to hear as well.
He also kind of almost contradicted Elon a little bit on the Cybertruck. Elon basically said pencils down, and Franz didn't say no pencils down. But basically the way he described it was the same way he described all the other cars that are already out. Like every week you see something new.
Right.
And
we're
so
never pencils down. I think he actually did say,
Yeah. So the way I interpreted that was like, so maybe it's Elon has decided it's done, but
so the launch
it's still
edition.
a Tesla. So every week it's still getting changes.
Right. Yeah.
And
The part that I thought.
Go ahead, Patrick.
The part that I thought was cool was when they talked about how they spend a lot of time on the lines looking at how they're built. And so it's not just, we set up here and we do stuff in AutoCAD and then we just cast it down and you guys figure out how to make it. It's no, they're getting feedback both ways, and looking at designing for manufacture. The faster if you can make it automatable, if you can make it so it's faster, if you can make it fewer parts, all of those are pluses. And that's one of the reasons that they're never pencils down, is because they're constantly trying to make improvements. And the way that Tesla does things, if they figure something out, they can actually put it into production, in some cases the same day. They have an agile system instead of just waiting for next year's model where they might try it.
Who would have thought, other than these two guys, which are really the same company, to make a car this way?
Right. Casting, yeah.
And this was they started with 2 models that were already out.
Right.
And they went back and restructured how the bones work.
Yeah. And they're, like Patrick said, they're involving other parts of the company into it. It's not just, here's the design, figure out how to make it. They're actually going to the line and watching the production and discussing with the people that are actually building it as to what ideas do you guys have? What can make this easier? What can make this faster? What can make this more effective than what we've currently got? And all those ideas are coming back to head management in order to massage the formula to make those things happen in a better way. So
and we've seen that with Monroe. He's like, hey, there used to be 8 screws here, and then you see him taking apart the car. There's only 2 screws there. And he's like, these aren't missing. They're not even taps. So it's not like they forgot to put them in or they fell out. They
found better ways
not
to
use
do
it
it
anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty funny. It was like, we just tore one apart a year ago, and now I'm looking at it, and it's like 5 years ahead from where it was. These changes would have taken over like a decade in any other company, and they did it in 1 year. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. So if you haven't listened to the interview, it's only about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes when Franz gets on. It's like an hour 15 for the whole thing. If you want to listen to
it's certainly worth a listen. And I would suggest you go on to Ride the Lightning podcast. It can be found on any of the podcatchers out there, and
YouTube.
Take a listen. So it's very much of interest.
If you wanted a cyber car, you're probably not going to get one, from what Franz hinted at.
Right.
At least not anytime soon.
Oh, that was the other thing was color.
Yes.
Ryan was saying, is there a possibility that you're the chief designer, the buck must stop with you for colors? Could we get another color? And Franz says, well, first of all, I would say Elon is above me as to making a decision. And then he said, I might be number 2 on the list. And he said, as far as a new color, I hope so. But he didn't commit to anything.
No, he didn't. And then for colors on the Cybertruck, he kept hammering home that, hey, we didn't want the outside to be the weakest part of the car. And if we give it a color or a coating or a tint or anything other than maybe the way they cook the metal, then it's not going to be the strongest part of the car anymore. So that sounds like a no, unless you want to get your own wrap. And a car that angular, I'm going to wrap it myself. I'm not going to bother with the wrap shop.
Yeah, I think wrap's the way to go if you want color.
Yeah. Definitely. Next, and that's the other thing I wanted to mention. For those of you who have ordered the Cybertruck and live in a southern state, just keep in mind that thing could be really hot when the summer comes. If it's not parked in the shade or in your garage, just keep that in mind. I'm not. Maybe the metal is going to be made in a certain way that it's not going to radiate as much as regular stainless steel, but I don't know.
He did say that if you manage to scratch it, it will be easier to repair than the DeLorean.
Yeah,
or your fridge.
Right, it'll be non-directional on the finish, so that you can repair it without having to
either before it ships or as it ships or shortly after it ships. They'll give us a at-home solution on how to repair those scratches.
Brillo pad.
Brillo pad, yeah. Actually, don't use stainless steel.
Correct.
Wool.
Do not.
Don't use stainless steel wool because the Cybertruck may not rust because of the stainless steel it has, but a pad will leave flecks of metal embedded, and that will rust. So don't use the stainless steel pad. Next, Giga Texas, they applied for the construction of a new facility there, $59 million for a dye facility. And of course, this makes complete sense. We've got the IDRA machine that is now being placed together in Gigafactory Texas. And having a die factory or shop on the same location makes extreme sense because, of course, dies that are placed inside the IDRA machine, at some point they do wear out and new ones have to be replaced. So having the expertise in shop on site will make things a lot quicker and more responsive, that if they have a failure in the die that was unexpected, they at least will have the equipment to move another die over there quickly. So
this would be their third die shop then, because they've got Tesla Tool and Die in Michigan, and then they've got Grumman Automotive in Germany. Which I
maybe
think is now
what
called
they've
Tesla
decided, Casey, is that just like the battery manufacturing, they need it closer in order to respond quicker. I don't know how quickly the dies get turned around. I got no idea. I just know that they do wear out after X amount of die presses. So there is a need for it. And maybe if it's in a faraway place like Michigan or some other place, you know, that's really not like shipping it from the building across the street from you.
Right, right.
You got to put a lot of stamps on something that big.
Well, there's just more ways for it to get delayed, and it's a lot harder for them to make those weekly changes. So,
yeah, exactly.
Dana says this is not for the machines; it's for the lithium processing. That's another possibility.
Oh, I did not know that. I assumed it was for the IDRA presses, but we'll take a look into that.
Maybe it's for their solid cathodes or something, or perhaps, I don't know.
Because those would be cast.
Patrick's got our next story, and this one is about the VPP.
Yes.
VPP, you know me.
That's right. You know me. I love the VPPs. So
VPP.
That's right. That's virtual power plants. So Tesla has a virtual power plant in California, and they have just hit a growth milestone of over 5,700 homes, and that's including homes in PG&E and SoCal Edison customers. So we've talked about these in the past. These are something that when the grid needs energy, they can tap these homes and they can provide power to them. We've also talked about the site here, the lastbulb.com, where they track all this, and they have some really cool graphs. You can see all the VPP events that have happened there. And Tesla Powerwall owners can participate in this, and they're actually getting paid for the kilowatt hours they provide to the grid during these events. Oregon has a similar plan. I'm in that. I think they tapped it 7 times last year. So it'll be interesting to see how many times they use it this year. And this is how you get a resilient grid, is that this is distributed. It's on all these people's homes. They can run it and power their neighbors when the grid is having problems keeping up with all the air conditioning needs in the hot summers that were just keep getting hotter every year. So I thought this was really cool, and wanted to share it with y'all.
So Breakneck Trent is asking, is AutoBidder making bank for anyone yet? And absolutely it is. There have been a couple write-ups recently about how Megapack current version is a game changer, especially now with the IRA. The government is buying half of your Megapack for you. So you add AutoBidder to it and whatever on-site generation you have between wind and solar, and it doesn't even matter if they raise the price another 20%, you're still making bank.
The AutoBidder is making bank for the utilities that own it.
Yes, but also if you have a Megapack, you
right. You don't have one of those in your backyard, though.
But it's not down to the homeowner.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So in that case, the AutoBidder is still working on the virtual power plant in Texas, but it didn't seem like they would said you were making a profit, just that you should be at next.
And I'm sure PG&E in California is using AutoBidder in their
against the customer.
So it's not to the customer, but of course, being able to purchase and sell power at a milliseconds requirement based on the price fluctuation that they see in their market.
Oh, I see. Against the other power companies. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they all have wholesale power, and then they have if they have a mega pack and they have this VPP, they can always make that decision of where should we pull from. Should we buy it in the open market, or should we pull it from our own mega pack? Should we tap the VPP? Do we want to do all three because we really need everything? It's nice to have options.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And as that list now at 5,700 grows, it just becomes a more and more powerful option for the state of California. For PG&E as a whole, it makes more and more sense as that number just gets added to. Can you imagine down the road when they're at like 50,000 instead of 5,000? So it just gives them a lot more resources to deal with an issue whenever they need to. So, and I could see this if they're paying their homeowners a good amount based on the number of uses that their actual unit gets used, then why would you not join it? It makes the community more resilient, and you get a little bit of money in your pocket for the use of it. So it just makes complete sense.
Yeah, and California right now is having a lot of flooding in certain areas, and people are losing power. And so if you have a power wall at your house and you have solar panels, you can charge up your power wall during the day, run on the power wall at night, to have solar the next day to run your house and recharge your battery. And you're not worried about everything in your freezer melting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Next, we're going to talk about Thor. Casey's got a story about Marvel Comics for us. So
it's a different Thor. So this Thor, they own a couple of RV manufacturers, and so you're going to be able to see this Thor has teamed up with SpaceX, and you'll be able to see integrated Starlink on Airstream, Jayco, and a few other RVs. Let's see if we can get some names here. Integra Coach, Jayco, Tiffin, and more. So when you buy the RV, it's going to come with a month of RV service for free. And this is the flat HP panel. This is a high performance RV panel. So you'll be able to actually use the Starlink service in motion. Well, not the driver, but everybody else in your party will be able to just use your internet connection. And maybe you can hook your phone up to it and do Spotify or something. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah. That could be if you're towing your RV, right, and you've got power to the router. It could be giving yourself a Wi-Fi bubble as you're going down the road. Exactly. So people in the truck that are pulling it in the back seat would have Wi-Fi access.
Yeah.
So,
and if you do a motorized coach, then you know when your partner gets up to go make a sandwich while you're driving, they can go change the tunes on the boombox or actually if you're in that, it's probably not a boombox. You know, your whole surround system.
Mm-hmm.
The kids can be belted in and they can be watching Netflix, and you got to worry about them.
Yeah. So more options for mobile internet, which is great, and of course reliable mobile internet. So even better. Well, with that, I think we will wrap that up for this week. Let's go to Casey for some shout-outs for this evening.
Well, on Sundays, you can catch me at youtube.com @KCGreen, and it'll be a show like this, but there's no fixed time limit. My shortest show was 3 minutes, and you couldn't hear anything, and the longest show was 5 hours. It's generally about the same sort of thing. You've got Tesla, Green Living, all the Musk companies, and we just do this kind of back and forth, and then when it's over, it's over. Like you'll find me in the middle of a sentence, and then it's all right. Bye. Ran out of topics, and it's a blast. And as I said, we did at least 202 hours last year, and as I said, you know, we maybe 25, maybe 100 of the topics came from, or not even came from, but like where I shared like the news was coming from a mainstream source, because we've got so many other great opportunities. We've got these people hovering the drones. We've got people who actually are not people in Tesla, because I don't want them to lose their job, but people really close to them. We'll look at their tweets. We'll talk to them. It's a blast. That's every Sunday at 1:10 p.m. Eastern.
And check that out at youtube.com/CaseyGreen, KACEYGREEN.
Absolutely.
With that, Patrick, any shout outs for this week?
Yeah, I'll do my usual ones. I blog at carswithcords.net, and I'm there talking about how we're moving towards a future free from fossil fuels.
Got it in. Got it in for the end of the show.
The F-bomb, gotta have it. And as always, I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. If you have an EV, you're interested in EV, you're plug curious, come check us out.
Plug curious, that's a good one.
Don't Google that.
If you do have some safe search turned on.
Yeah, PSA, do not Google that. Yeah. Just go to carswithcords.net and check out Patrick's blog, and as well as his association with the OVA. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up at the end of the show. Helps us out. Doesn't cost you a thing. If you hadn't subscribed already, please do that as well. That gives us a boost in the YouTube algorithm, and that would be appreciated. But with that said, let's get together next Wednesday, and together we will find out what's happening in the Tesla life. Good night, everyone.
Stay positive, test negative.